Okay, let's get started. So today we're going to talk about AI in search because obviously that's a big problem for marketers at the moment. And basically, the question that has inspired this particular topic today is the question of how do I stop AI stealing my website traffic? So we're going to go through this, a few strategies. First, we're going to look at like what are the actual challenges though that people are facing. This isn't just marketing agencies. This is everyone in marketing as well. And to be fair, consumers as well. If you're a user of the internet who isn't, you're also going to be having a bit of a challenge, or you're definitely going to be experiencing this rise in AI in search. So we're looking at Google overviews dominating the space above the highest ranking results. Um, More people are using now ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. As search assistants, including me. I use both of these as a personal user as well as for work. When people click on, when people search on Google and just the answer comes up straight away as an AI overview, um, these are known as zero-click searches because you don't actually need to click on a website to find the answer out, which is better for user experience, really. If you're just trying to find out, how do you, um, what's the difference? What is the, how, what am I trying to say? How do you measure between 100 grams and into cups or something like that? A very simple question. You don't want to have to scroll through a whole entire recipe and read someone's life story to find out what the answer is. In the same way that you might have a question about, do I need a plumber to sort this out for me, or is this something I can do myself? Even something like that, an AI overview is usually pretty good at saying, yeah, actually, you're going to need a plumber for this because that's a complex job that's very difficult to learn by yourself. And then they might recommend some YouTube tutorials, but also that means now have to do your research on your plumber, and that's where your website's still really important. Um, but along with all of this, you've got an increased competition from more than one place, from AI generated answers, obviously, as the AI overview, but also from competitors who are using AI. And they might be using AI better than you are or more than you are to, for example, saturate the market with content. However, this can be very poor quality content. Using AI to churn out content that doesn't match Google's guidelines is not going to do very much good. Um, and it can lead to frustration. Got a lot of people panicking. Um, when you, not just marketers, but consumers find AI a bit confusing. But as marketers, we don't really like those zero-click searches, do we? We find them, you spent absolutely years working on all the lovely SEO for your website, and you're working really hard to provide good content, and then AI just answers the questions for you. So what we're going to look at is some strategies around what Google actually wants and how we can adapt to this and not panic. So what does Google say it wants from websites? Basically, Google ranks content according to their EEAT framework. You're thinking of its experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And if you haven't heard of this, this is a really good thing to know whenever you're creating any content. And this hasn't changed. I mean, experience got brought in 2022 to highlight the importance of the first-hand experience of the author. But expertise, authoritativeness, and trust, these are key pillars of Google, of what Google want from your content. Expertise is referring to like the proof that you know what you're talking about. Authoritativeness is how authoritative your website is, basically, like thinking PR, backlinks, reviews. And then trust is how accessible and credible and up to date your website is, basically. So Google ranks and shares information that fall into this framework. And when you're when you're doing your content, or ultimately, including with AI, you want to just make sure that what you're providing is helpful and relevant. So previous bad practices, bad SEO practices like keyword stuffing, they still won't work, but then neither will poorly generated, mass generated AI content. That won't work either. They don't tick the boxes of what Google wants from websites. So we do need to adapt from focusing only on traditional keyword-based SEO, because AI takes user behavior and the meaning behind words and phrases into account when categorizing results. And does anyone, have I just put in the chat, does anyone have any questions about EEAT? Like, does that make sense there? Just wanting to check. Has anyone not heard of this before? Has anyone heard of it? Do you tend to try and use this framework? I'll give you all a second to answer while I have my tea. No, you've not seen this, Paul. Interesting. So if anyone else is in the same boat, this is what we think about when we're creating content. And it's a good way to plan your content out. So then if you keep this in mind as we go through it, we'll refer back to it. But keeping this in mind when we're talking about the strategies, and you'll start to see the difference between when you think of content like this, content from this perspective with this framework in mind, the difference between that and when you see this like really poorly generated AI content where they clearly aren't thinking about this, or a website that doesn't have these factors involved, you can see how your content is going to outperform others. So basically, we're going to start with focusing on web content that AI can't replicate. So what we're talking about here is first-hand experience and expertise, case studies, testimonials, user-generated content, brand storytelling, listing this out, more interactive and multimedia content like videos, podcast tools, white papers, survey results, real life events. All of these so important. Remember the framework, as we've just been talking about. All of this really, really ticks these boxes. Your expertise, case studies. If you're already doing case studies, that's great, but there are ways you can maybe even make them more effective. But basically, this, from this perspective, is web content. Blogs can be replicated by AI very easily. And blogs aren't a bad thing. You should still do blogs. But if your focus has been on producing lots of blog content in the past, thinking more about this first-hand experience and the unique insights that only you can offer, this is a way forward from in one strategy. Moving on to a second strategy, optimizing for AI-driven search. So this is a bit more complex, but we're talking here about improving the schema markup, which is the language or code that search engines use to basically to read content on the website. And it uses schema markup to AI and Google and search engines in general and LLMs. They will crawl websites. They use the schema markup to read content, understand what it is, and then present those results on search engine results pages. Use conversational natural language. So that's a really helpful thing to do. It demonstrates your authenticity and your realness, your human side, which is extremely important. Answering user intent with concise, expert-led responses. This is so important. It makes people understand that you are experts on a subject matter. And if you're in a business like Sherry, you do like beauty and well-being, and you've probably, if you have got qualifications or letters after your name, like really making a big deal about that is a really important thing when you're talking. If you're doing a blog and it's coming from it's professional advice. It's not just AI telling people these are the things you can do. You're talking about these are the things that in my 10, 15 years of experience I've seen work. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an example there of the different way of approaching it. And user intent is really important to understand. Are people there for information? Are they there for a transaction? What stage of the journey are they on, the customer journey? Backlinking is still important, and other authority building activities like PR and reviews, as we spoke about earlier. So this is another strategy to go at. I would recommend all these strategies you want to put in place, like all of them basically, but breaking them down into sections is quite helpful. So for our third one, our third strategy is building stronger direct traffic channels. So this is email marketing and subscribed audience, paying much more attention to them, adding engagement and community building to your social channels, using micro influencers and partnerships with community members and businesses, and focusing on making communication more personalized, especially using the data that you've got in your subscribers. So if you've got an audience already, you absolutely want to be making the most out of this. You know, they've already signed up, they're already invested in your brand. So not exploiting them, but kind of, well, capitalizing on these audience that already like you is a really important thing moving forward. And you can do that off of your website. But for example, email marketing is going to be something that if you haven't already implemented that as a key strategy, that is something you really want to start focusing on. Okay, and then lastly, don't get left behind. Don't ignore AI. You want to exploit AI for your own SEO, really. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about content ideation and research, using SEO tools with built-in AI. That's like an automated SEO insights, real-time optimization tools. If you're not already investing in SEO tools, I mean, the difference is huge. I spent years working in marketing, guessing about keywords and guessing about optimizing SEO. And then I started working in an agency and had access to all these tools that actually just told me the answer. And it made such a big difference to how effective my campaigns were. So, and they all come with AI in them now. And I think that some people are very resistant to using them because they're worried that they're kind of giving in to AI and that it's gonna. I mean, you do still want to make sure that everything is factual and correct when you're using AI, especially if you're using it for content ideation or research. But when it's integrated into tools, like it's so effective. So do try and invest in that as a strategy. And testing and measuring. So you've got these tools: test, measure, compare, analyze results. What Dave was talking about last week with the competitor analysis. It's really important to help you identify those content gaps that your competitors are missing and exploit those so that you can get that share of the traffic. And that's it, really. There's our four strategies so far. Well, four very useful strategies, I think, to get you started on how to stop AI stealing your web traffic. However, you can't actually stop it stealing your web traffic. Like, it's just a new way of working, and it's a new way of searching. Google always adapt to tech advances, but their EE80 framework stays the same. So if you think about the experience, the expertise, your authoritativeness, your trust, and put all of these strategies in one, together, you're going to adapt to AI far easier than people who are resistant to it. Or you've got to kind of get out of this mindset of you've got to stop AI, basically. Think of your website traffic as much more precious than it used to be. And the value you're getting from the visitors who do go to your website, working on improving the experience for them and converting them is going to be a much more effective strategy now. So just kind of recapping that the focusing on the kinds of content that can't be replicated by AI, optimizing for organic and AI-driven search, capitalizing the audience you already have with stronger direct traffic channels, and don't be afraid to use AI for competitive advantage. So if you put all of the work on all of these strategies together, you will see that over time, like it's SEO is never a quick thing, but what you want is your AI overviews to be picking up information from your website. And when people have got those quick answers, they still want to do in-depth research. Rana and Kim obviously work for solicitors. When someone is looking for a solicitor, they still want to know that that solicitor is going to do a good job, that they know what they're talking about, and they're still going to go through, solicitors Northampton, type that into Google and go through the first 10 results and maybe 2 or 3 pages of results to compare which solicitors they get the right vibes from and they get the right feeling and competence from, that they think they can trust to have this talk before they reach out. And then so that experience on the website, that's down to you to then provide all of that expertise and authority so that entices them to click for contacting you. And even though your previous blog that you wrote about some topic might not be the first result on Google anymore because AI's taken it, those referrals from AI still come through. We've seen a spike in most of our clients in ChatGPT referrals. That's still traffic going through to their website. It's just coming from somewhere else. And that's because they've got good content on their website that is helpful and people are finding it useful when they find that through ChatGPT or Perplexity or something like that. So we have 3 minutes. If anyone has any questions, the next, talking about real life proper content and, humanizing things, the next afternoon tea we're going to do is about encouraging employee generated content on social media, which will be a bit different. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Has anyone enjoyed this? If you have enjoyed it, would you share it on LinkedIn? That would be really helpful because I'd love to get some more people coming. But hopefully you found this a little bit helpful and you don't maybe find AI kind of that, and the idea of AI overviews kind of ruining all your hard work on your website. It may be not quite as daunting as it was before. Cheers, Sherry. Well, if you want to ask me a question, you can do, obviously, and if not, have a lovely afternoon.